Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. It's Rekt Capital. Welcome to today's video market update. We're going to be focusing on what is Bitcoin doing in the landscape, in the perspective of its overall market cycle. And this is a view that not many people will hold. I feel like this latest rally from 3,000, roughly speaking, has been a classic breakout, pullback, retest, trend continuation play. And this is the chart that I posted in mid-March. In early 2019, we formed an ascending triangle. So this was a consolidation period. This was the ranging period that tends to precede a breakout towards the upside. So this was an accumulation range, and we tend to see these ranging periods throughout history. We've seen them time and again, and this was one of the times where we just saw that historical tendency repeat. So this ascending triangle preceded a bullish breakout towards the upside. But of course, once we reached 13,900, we started to form a series of lower highs, and then of course we had the whole situation that resulted in a pullback to the 3000s. So we saw that first initial breakout, and then we had the pullback into the top of the range, the top of the ranging period, the top of the ascending triangle, for a retest attempt. And what I was looking for next was for trend continuation to around 11,000. So this was in mid-March, and if this were to turn out to be the case, this was a classical breakout, pullback, retest, trend continuation. Something you see in all different patterns, something you see recurring in technical analysis all the time. This is primarily how I trade breakouts in altcoins as well as in Bitcoin, but this has been a breakout, pullback, retest, trend continuation type of classical breakout theory on a macro scale over the course of a year or more, really. So since that time, I've updated the chart, and indeed we saw a successful retest attempt and trend continuation ever since, all the way back to 11,000. And it just goes to show that this whole thing, this whole piece and portion of price action was essentially in line with market cycles, but through the lens of a breakout, pullback, retest, trend continuation, classical breakout pattern. So what I'm essentially saying is that we've already seen the lows. The bottom is in, and we're probably going to see highs going forward. But of course, Bitcoin does have a few resistances that we need to bear in mind, because of course 10,800 is the monthly level that we've closed above. So that confirms a new bull market. We're not going to see any ridiculously low levels going forward. But this is a fantastic historic event that we've seen in the monthly close. A fantastic shift in psychology. We've already seen the pullback and retest into this level. So essentially the same thing going on over here in the retest attempt, followed by trend continuation. But this took months and months and months to evolve. Whereas here we're already seeing the breakout, the pullback, the retest, and now we just have to wait for the trend continuation, while still being open to some wicking towards the downside to as low as the low 9,000s, because this is what history is suggesting to us. And of course, the next chart, if we just cycle a pullback into here as a pattern in itself, a breakout and then pull back into here, that would be 9,300. So very similar. We're seeing some confluence there, and that would be the result of a downward wick past this monthly level. And of course, we'd probably see the monthly close above here anyway. So some volatility. There is a lot of scope for some volatility to occur going forward in the next few weeks. So definitely something to keep in mind. But this level, this whole monthly situation looks great. And what we need to also bear in mind is zooming into the weekly, because this is the monthly level, right? You can see that this is a very key level on the monthly, and of course a very key level in terms of the weekly time frame, because you can see rejections from here, and of course Now we've broken past here on the weekly as well. So a fantastic situation. But we have to also bear in mind that on the weekly, we have a strong resistance ahead. And you can see that this has plagued Bitcoin for a long time now. And we haven't been able to really weekly close above that level. So what I'm essentially saying is that once we get a weekly close above this level of around 11,400, that's really going to open up something truly interesting, because we're going to probably make a further rally towards the upside upon that weekly close above this level. But in the meantime, we've only seen a FOMO wick past this level, and we are still testing this as a resistance in this young weekly candle. So essentially speaking, this weekly level coupled together with the monthly close level, we're in a range once again. And how volatile this range is going to be is yet to be determined, but we're essentially sandwiched between two very key levels, which are 11,400 and 10,800 on the monthly, but of course with the scope to see some volatility in the form of downward wicks to this 10,500 level, because we have a lot of resistances here, a lot of layers of supply, previous historical supply, which are still yet to be turned into demand. So whether it's this narrow range from 11,400 to 10,800, or whether it's 11,400 to 10,500. But of course, once we break past this supply zone, then we can be really confident about further continuation towards the upside. So that's my view in terms of Bitcoin and where it is in the market cycle. The market cycle is definitely healthy. We've seen a fantastic breakout, pullback, retest, and trend continuation, and we're very well positioned for Bitcoin to continue rallying higher. But of course, there are signs of a range potentially forming in the short term. So those are some of the key levels to watch out for going forward. But what I also want to mention in the context of Ethereum and Litecoin, Bitcoin has rallied 126% after breaking past its 200 weekly exponential moving average, which is a vital long-term gauge of investor sentiment. That's something important to bear in mind, because we saw a 70% rally from a breakout past the 200 weekly EMA for Ethereum, but Litecoin is actually at its resistance, at its 200 EMA at the moment. So long-term investors aren't bullish on Litecoin just yet. So we are still yet to see a bull trend evolve in Litecoin. And this is the chart that I'm focusing on at the moment. So the 200 weekly EMA is right over here. It's confluent with the diagonal resistance plaguing Litecoin since mid-December 2017. So a confluent resistance area right over here. But of course, a breakout past this confluent resistance area would unleash the bull trend. But in the meantime, it would be fantastic if we continue to keep this level as a support, with some downward wicking down to the top of this accumulation range, just to retest it as a new support, just to retest the range high of that previous accumulation range as a new support, so that I can springboard to higher levels, just to grab that additional liquidity, those buy orders, for them to be triggered into a cascading buy side momentum that would allow price to fully break past this confluent supply zone at this real strong resistance area for Litecoin. That's something I'm looking for Litecoin, but bear in mind that investors aren't bullish on Litecoin just yet. They will be, though, once we break past this long-term gauge of investor sentiment, because that will, of course, mean that we've broken the downtrend, the multi-year downtrend, and that's what we need to look for going forward. But I am open to some really attractive dips from Litecoin going forward as well. So in this segment of the episode, I'd like to focus on Tezos. We have spoken about the large caps Bitcoin. This is predominantly where intra-market capital is flowing at the moment. It is occupying Bitcoin and large caps. Smaller altcoins aren't really doing much at the moment, but there are a few interesting plays that are always worth watching for. And these plays tend to outperform the market. They tend to decouple from the market. So these are the outliers in the general trend, because the general trend is that the money flow cycle is focused on Bitcoin, Ethereum, and Litecoin. But of course, you have the outliers. And Chainlink has been one of those outliers. And we're going to talk about Chainlink and Tezos' correlation, because they have coupled together. Chainlink, or at least Tezos, used to inform Chainlink's price action, but ever since then, this was back in May, of course, this correlation. But since then, Chainlink has really outperformed the market and has decoupled from Tezos, and now Tezos seems to be following Link. So this correlation has simply role reversed. In May, Tezos was informing Link's price action. Now, Link is informing Tezos' price action. So this was a chart that I posted on Twitter a few days back. This was the base of the symmetrical triangle for Tezos. A break past this level of resistance would confirm a trend reversal, and we've seen a 14% rally from the base of the symmetrical triangle, and this symmetrical triangle is essentially a reaccumulation range at highs. You can see that this is the range overall. We're also seeing this price compression in this symmetrical triangle, so there is a slanting range as well. A slanting range, a triangular range within a sideways range. And speaking of Chainlink and how it's correlated to Tezos, we have to just compare these two, because back in late June, you saw this continuation pattern, this symmetrical triangle on Chainlink, and since then, Chainlink hasn't looked back because it has rallied 90% towards the upside as of today. And the other thing to bear in mind is that whenever you see a continuation pattern like that, and this was also the case in Kyber Network in late May, Kyber Network also rallied exponentially towards the upside after breaking out from its consolidation structure. So you can see that once you see a consolidation structure on a macro scale in the form of Kyber Network, which resulted in a macro breakout past a multi-year resistance trend line, if you see this in Link as well, or any altcoin really, a macro bullish continuation structure, these are most likely to precede a strong breakout rally towards the upside. And we're seeing the same thing in Tezos as well. So essentially speaking, this is an uptrend, this is consolidation, and then you see an uptrend later on. That's what you want to watch out for. So check out the video if you haven't already, because it's a very useful resource that will be applicable to any alt season, any year in crypto. Check it out if you haven't already. And having said that, guys, that's about it for today's video update. Thank you so much for watching. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Please consider dropping a like if you enjoyed the video. As always, I'm Rekt Capital. Thank you so much for watching today, and I'll speak to you in the next one. Speak soon.